Today I'm going to do a story. It's a famous story. The name of it is called Thump. So the story is from many years ago, and as well as many different variations. So what I'm going to do today is pick different aspects of each story and then blend them together, and it'll be about an hour. So one evening, there was a poor woodcutter sitting at home at the dinner table with his wife. So the two of them were having a conversation back and forth while they were eating walnuts. And they were saying, we've been married for a while, and yet we don't have any children. As we look out in the village, the other people have children and they seem happy. And they're always having fun, running around, playing with their children. But still, it's just the two of us. And I wouldn't even mind just having a single child. The wife, she agreed. It doesn't matter, one child would be fine. Even if it was a small child, I'd still be happy with that. And the husband was like, I agree too. And so as he was shelling out walnuts, he ate, peeled one off and ate it, and then he peeled off a second and looked down and saw a small boy standing there. He was just teeny, the same size as your thumb, and he was in this walnut. And he showed his wife, look at this little boy, and the wife explained, oh my goodness. So he was standing there looking up from the hand back and forth to each of them. Maybe, the wife said, our wish has come true, and we can take him as our own. Doesn't matter how the size, doesn't matter. I will still enjoy having him anyway. And the boy looked up back and forth. So later, the wife made bed for Tom, for the boy. So they both agreed that they had to get a name from. So one day the wife was making breakfast, and Tom was standing on her shoulder and goes skipping down and had fallen into the batter. And so they pulled over a glass of water, and the wife encouraged Tom to get into the cup to take a bath. So he did. He climbed in and scrubbed up and got all the batter off. And the wife realized there was no clothes for Tom, so she quickly made him some clothes. And oh my goodness, he was so smart, and you could see that he was just eager to start learning new things. So the husband was a woodcutter, and so he would fall trees down for fire. So as much as he liked his job, but there was no one else to help him. So Tom looked up. He's like, "Hey, you guys, I can help." And I looked down, they're like, "Tom, you help me. How can you help me?" And they just laughed it off. Like, no big deal. You're just so goofy. How can you help me? You're so little. For the horses, you can't even bridle a horse. So he's like, "Well, Mom, I can help bridle the horses." So they lifted him up into the ear of one of the horses, and he stood there and kind of hung on to the hairs in the ears. Oh, that's a good idea. Well, let's give it a try. So the mom came down, bridled the horse, and connected Tom right up to the pool of the horse. And then lifted him up into the horse's ear, and he grabbed onto the whiskers as well. Okay, Mom's like, "You're fine?" "Yep." Tom's like, "I'm fine." "Oh." And then he yelled to the horses, "Go!" And the horses took off. And they were going through the woods and at breakneck speed going down. And they yelled, "Stop!" And the horses stopped. Oh, perfect. So that worked a lot better than we thought. So they went ahead with the plan. Tom would yell, "Go!" And the horses would take off and run down the path. The trees were just flying. They were going so fast. And they went faster and faster. And they added more and more, and the trees went faster. And two men were walking through the woods, and they saw these horses just flying by them. Well, that's strange. I heard a voice, but there was no one sitting in there was no person sitting in the carriage. What's going on? It's a little bit odd. But as they were discussing them between the two of them, how does that work with no one there? So they decided to go ahead and follow the horses, and they had to hurry to keep up as the horses were flying through the woods. But they managed to just keep up with them. And when they got to the dad with his trees, the horses screeched to a stop. And the two men were like, "Well, that's a little odd." Tom then, from the horse's ear, he's like, "Dad, I'm here, I made it, what do you think?" And the men could hear the voice when they got there. And they're like, "Wow," the men were like, "That's impressive." So then Tom climbed out into his dad's hands, and he was put on the ground. And the two strangers then approached the woodcutter, and their jaws dropped to see a small boy standing there, and that he could stand in the horse's ears and control the horses. And they were so impressed with that. And so the two of them started to discuss, well, he could help us, and we could become rich because of him. So they asked the dad, "Do you mind selling him to us?" "Well, we should ask if you should sell it to us." And they approached the dad, and he's like, "Well, do you mind selling him to us?" "No," said the dad. "I'm not selling my son. I cherish him and love him to pieces." Tom heard that, and he started thinking. He climbed up to his dad on his dad's shoulder and started whispering in his ear. "Dad," he explained, if they give us money for a short time, I can make off some money for them, and we could get rich." The dad's like, "That's a good idea." So they told the strangers, "I'm going to change my mind. I'll sell him to you." Okay, and that was fine. So I gave him some gold tokens. Thank you, gave him Tom, and the Tom went with them, with the strangers. And now what we're going to do, as Tom said on his on the hand, "I can sit on your hat." Okay, so he climbed up and sat on the brim of the hat, and he rode there. And then, as they were walking through the woods, they walked and walked and walked. They walked pretty much all afternoon and well into the evening. Tom was like, "I'm getting tired," and the strangers were like, "Okay, why don't we leave you here?" And that was totally fine. So I took him off the brim of the hat, and he jumped to the ground. He looked back at the men, and they looked at each other, and he ran as fast as he could, and he ran away. And they were kind of in hilly country, and he was running through, and the trees were going through, and he was darting through the grass, and the men were looking around, and they realized that he had left, and they angrily started chasing them. And they were running, and the men were a tad bit faster. So then Tom found a big mouse hole and dove in. The men came up, and they were looking for him, and they saw the little mouse hole, and they grabbed a stick and tried fishing him out and prodding him out to see if they could drag him out of the hole. And they tried and tried and tried. Couldn't get a hold of him. But Tom just stayed in the corner of the dark hole and waited. He could see the stick, but he just kind of stayed out of the way. Finally, they just gave up. And they left. So Tom waited for a while, and when he was secure that he had left, he climbed out of the hole and started walking again. And he walked and walked and walked for a while, and he started getting tired. And he saw kind of a nest or a stack of straw, bale of straw. And he decided that he was going to go sleep in there. So as he was sleeping, two completely different men then approached him. And they were talking, discussing how they were going to steal some things from a rich man's house. And they were talking back and forth. And Tom woke up and heard this. And he called out, "Hey, hey!" The men were looking around, wondering where the voice came from. And, "Did you hear that noise?" Yeah, they looked around. And Tom's like, look down here, I'm here." And they finally did look down, and they saw Tom walk out of the straw. "Hey." And the two looked down, they're like, "Oh, it's a small boy. Do you want to help us?" Tom's like, "Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to the rich man's house with you? I can sneak through the metal bars on the window, you know how it has the bars to protect against thieves. Well, I can sneak down. I'm small enough. I can grab the things that you want, and I can just toss them back up to you." The man's like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Come with us." And they grabbed him up in his hand, and he rolled on the shoulder again as they went through the forest one more time. The two of them did, three with Tom. And they arrived to the wealthy man's house, and the bars on the windows were there. So they put Tom then on the windowsill, and he climbed through the bars and jumped on in. And there was all sorts of really nice things. So I started shouting back, "Hey, thieves, if you don't, what do you want? What do you need?" And he's yelling and picking up things and yelling back and forth of all the things that are in the house. And the thieves are like, No, shh, don't wake up everyone. We're thieves. You gotta be quiet." And Tom's just picking up stuff and yelling back and forth. And then in the next room, and there was a cook, and she was sleeping. And she started hearing noises and kind of woke up, just discombobulated, and got up and decided to go look in the room. And the thieves were scared because they heard someone coming, and so they took off, just leaving Tom there. The cook opened the door and kind of dazed, but she didn't see anybody. There was no one there. Tom then took his that as an escape and ran out the door just before the door closed, and ran all the way out to the barn. And when he went in, he saw the hay. So he climbed up and jumped in the hay. It was nice and warm, and snuggled in and fell asleep. The cook then decided he was ready for the day and got changed and up and headed outside to the barn. And all the cows were hungry. So she grabbed a pile of hay, and that's where Tom was, and grabbed the pitchfork and started shoveling the hay into the feeders. So Tom kind of slept through all this, and then she left. And so the cow was just eating away, just real thankful to have food. Tom then was laying there, and as the cow was eating, the cow grabbed Tom in its mouth. And Tom was still asleep, and the cow was eating, and that's when Tom woke up, when he felt the movement, and he was in the cow's mouth. And he tried to get out, and he started wiggling out, and the cow then started taking some real big bites then. And Tom, when the cow opened the mouth, jumped out and ran away. And Tom was relieved. And he ran as fast as he could all the way outside. And he ran all the way through the forest. And he ran and he ran and he ran. He finally got to the point where he was tired and slowed down a bit. And so then he could feel something was behind him, hungry, and took off. And then he saw that he was being chased, and so he started running as well, and got snagged. And he jumped up, and he was caught by the one of the whiskers, and he climbed up and sat on the head. And the cat just went nuts trying to get him off his head. And he would pause at his face and shake. And so then Tom had a hold of his ear and grabbed him. He's like, "You were trying to eat me." And he's like, "I'm hungry." Tom's like, "I understand that. But," he's like, "I know where there's food. There's plenty of food. Why don't we go there? Do you want to go with me?" And the cat's like, "Yes, let's go." Okay, so he grabbed him, was holding on the ears, and he told him, "Go ahead, go straight." So they took off, started walking, take a left, take a right, go that way, take a right, then back and follow this all the way through the serpentines, all the way up. They went and they went and they went, and they arrived at the dad's house. And he opened the door and he snuck in. And he was able to get through the door and looked around, and do you see? He went to the man's house, and in the kitchen there was food. And on the table, there was all set up on the table. So he jumped on the table and started eating all what was on the table, and eating and eating and eating. And he was trying all sorts of different things as they were eating. And he's like, "Oh, I could eat more and more and more." The man was sleeping. And then he heard something strange. He did a noise in the kitchen, and it woke him up, and he got out of bed and went out and saw the wolf, interpreter saw the wolf. And he grabbed the axe and he went to yell after him, and the wolf started running away, and Tom's like, was on the head, he's like, "Let go," and went flying all the way back over the tail and off the backside of the wolf. And the wolf then ran away, and the man was standing there and relieved the wolf was gone, and Tom yelled out, "Tom, hey, or Dad, here, it's me. Look down." He looked down, he's like, "Oh, Tom, you're back home." He was so excited, and he picked him up, and he told the mom to come, and Mom came, and she was just so relieved that he was home and he was safe. And the two of them were so worried. We thought you were gone forever. Oh, and they were just so happy that we loved, and they gave him kisses. And they fed him more because he was gone for so long. And the three of them lived happily ever after from that point on. That's the end.